we are going to discuss about resolution of vectors in this lecture. So what is a vector? In physics, some physical quantities, when they have both magnitude as well as direction and follows triangle law of vector addition, সেই physical quantity গুলোকে আমরা vectors বলবো বা vector বলবো. For example, displacement, velocity, force, they are vectors because they have both follow triangle law of vector addition, displacement, velocity, force. These examples, they follow triangle law of addition as well as they have magnitude and also sense direction. For example, current, which is not considered as a vector, but it has got a magnitude as well as direction because it does not follow triangle law of vector addition. Now next, what is unit vector? Unit vector is basically a vector which is equal to a magnitude into a unit vector. Let us suppose a vector A which is equal to magnitude of A multiplied by unit vector. Let us try to explain how does it happen. Suppose you consider a vector A, তুমি একটা vector A ধরো, এবার সেই vector A কে তুমি যদি equally ভাগ করো, ধরা যাক এইভাবে ভাগ করছি, এই equal ভাগগুলোকে আমরা বলতে পারবো যে unit vectors. তাই এখানে for example in this case you have 4 such unit vectors, so I will say here A is 4 into unit vectors, so that 4 into unit vectors makes the total vector capital A, the entire vector. So now we come to the a point where we want to resolve a vector into components. So before I start into components, resolving vectors into components, একটা vector কে কি করে দুটো কম্পোনেন্টে ভাঙা যায় in two dimension. আমরা জানি যে যদি তুমি x আর y কোঅর্ডিনেট অ্যাক্সিস ধরো, একটা পয়েন্ট কে x আর y দিয়ে ডিফাইন করা যায়, তাহলে ফ্রম দ্য অরিজিন এই x পয়েন্টটা হচ্ছে এই x ডিসটেন্স আর y পয়েন্টটা হচ্ছে অরিজিন থেকে y অ্যাক্সিসের এই হাইটটা y. তাহলে in an xy coordinate system xy point represents like this. এবার যদি আমার কাছে একটা ভেক্টর থাকে v, সেই ভেক্টর is inclined with an angle theta with the x-axis, or আমরা বলতে পারি this vector v makes an angle theta with x-axis. সেক্ষেত্রে এই ভেক্টর v কে দুটো কম্পোনেন্টে আমরা ভাঙতে পারি. We can break this into two components, one in the horizontal direction x-axis এর দিকে, other in the vertical direction y-axis এর দিকে. We can resolve into two components. সেটা কি করে হচ্ছে? Now see, this vector v, I can say that this vector point can be defined by vx and vy similarly like this. তাহলে এই height, এই ডিসটেন্সটা x axis বরাবর যেটা সেটা vx আর y axis বরাবর যেটা vy. এবার এই vx ভেক্টরকে আমরা ভাঙতে পারি into vx into unit vector. Similarly, j vector is a unit vector in the y direction, so I can write the magnitude of vy into j unit vector. So এই যে vy টা can be written as vy into unit vector and vx vector can be written as vx into unit vector. এবার আমরা যদি এখানে cos theta sin theta বার করি, তাহলে I can write down that cos theta is equal to vx by v and sin theta is equal to vy by v. Similarly, we can write the component vy is equal to magnitude of v into sin theta and vx is equal to magnitude of v into cos theta. So this vector v can be resolved into or resolved as v is equal to vx I cap plus vy j cap. And this concept can also be applied to three-dimension space where we have the three coordinates governed by x, y, z. সেটা আমরা দেখে নিই. তার আগে একবার রিভিশন দিয়ে নিই যে Cartesian components, Cartesian coordinates, a vector can in two dimension can be resolved as this. So let us go to the three dimension. ধরা যাক যে this direction is x axis, this is y and the vertical is z. তাহলে আমরা দেখো vertical পয়েন্টটা z পয়েন্টটা is 3, x পয়েন্টটা হচ্ছে 2, y কোঅর্ডিনেটটা হচ্ছে 1. So you have x, y, z as 2, 1, 3. Now how do I plot a point 2, 1, 3? 2, 1, 3 is this point. So how do you plot this 2, 1, 3? Now see, this is 2, this distance denoted as green color, light green. This is the 1, which is the y coordinate, which is in pink, and this is the blue one, which is the z coordinate 3. So this point 2, 1, 3 represents a coordinate in 3-dimensional space denoted as 2, 1, 3. So if I want to write down this in x, y, z, so if v is a vector, it can have a value or coordinate governed by x, y, z, and then I can resolve similarly like two dimension. I can resolve this vector v into components. Let us see how we can do it. Suppose this is your y-axis, this is x-axis, and this is z-axis, and this vector is the red in color. So you can write down the vector. Before I say that, this is the unit vectors. I is the x-axis unit vector, j is the unit vector for the y direction, and k is the unit vector in the z direction. We can write down the vector a, any vector, as a is equal to ax vector and ax component, ay and az. Now this ax can be written as ax, magnitude ax into unit vector, which becomes a vector ax, ay into j vector. Ay is the magnitude of ay vector multiplied by j vector. This becomes the, after multiplication, this becomes ay vector. Similarly with az. So what is the magnitude of a? As we have shown in 2D, we can write down in 3D also, root over ax square, ay square, az square. Like this, I can also evaluate or determine the relation between cos alpha, cos beta, cos gamma as ax equal to a cos alpha, ay is equal to a cos beta, az is equal to a cos gamma, like the same way we calculated for sin theta and cos theta in the coordinate system in the two dimension. So cos alpha, cos beta, cos gamma are called the direction cosines, and the relation is cos square alpha plus cos square beta plus cos square gamma equal to 1. So let us do an example. Suppose you have three vectors, one in the east direction, the other one is in the northeast direction, and the other one is the north direction. And the magnitude of the vectors are 5, 5 root 2 and 5. You have to find out the sum of three vectors, the resultant of these three vectors in both the direction x and y, that is in terms of I and j, their magnitude and the direction. So what is the value of a? A is the velocity, because it is in the x-axis, so I can write a is equal to 5 into I cap, because I is the unit vector in the x direction. Similarly for b, I can resolve this b into two components, one in the x and y, either in the z y-axis. So I can write down this 5 root 2 as 5 root 2 cos theta I cap. 5 root 2 is the vector b. Cos theta means this is 45 degree. So 5 root 2 cos 45 I cap. I cap, this is the value vx which I have shown into I cap. Because this is also theta equal to 45, so I can write down 5 root 2 sin 45j. So I can have the v resolved into 5i plus 5j, and c vector is in the y direction, so I can say 5j. So if I take the sum of a plus b plus c, I can write down 10i plus 10j, and the magnitude of a plus b plus c, if I will take 10 square plus 10 square both in the I and the j direction, which I'll get as 10 root 2, and the direction is given by y by x, that is, what is 10 by 10, because y by x, what is your c direction? You will have both two vectors in the b and c, the b component y direction as well as c, and in the x you have a, and if I take that theta, you have 10 by 10, which is equal to 1, theta equal to 45. So we come to the end of this lecture.